Hey everyone, today I'm going to explain a really interesting film that just came out called Witch. This movie takes us back to 1575, where a terrifying demon is trying to permanently manifest on Earth. But this film's concept is a bit different from your typical horror movie. It features various timelines and a lot of rituals you don't usually see in other horror flicks. I hope you'll enjoy it. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Alright, without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. The movie opens on a night in 1575. We see a man named Will performing a ritual on two girls inside a cabin. His ritual unleashes darkness, and a mysterious black smoke starts to appear. What Will was doing and why isn't clear yet. However, the town sheriff arrives to stop him and attacks. But then, the town's blacksmith, William, intervenes, attacking the sheriff and dragging him outside. He tries to explain that the sheriff shouldn't stop this, but the sheriff insists that William's wife is actually a witch, and killing her is the only way to fix everything. He warns that if she isn't dealt with, everything will be ruined. William, however, can't let that happen, so he injures and knocks out the sheriff in their struggle. At this point, we see Will, who is now injured, realize that the darkness has finally gotten out of his control and entered William's wife, Toila. He's clearly distressed, muttering that this shouldn't have happened and that he failed to stop it. He then uses his own blood to draw and write something on an ancient book he has with him. By now, William has returned and is tending to his wife, Toila. Will, as he's dying, gathers the book and tells William that he's the one who needs to make things right. He then drinks a potion himself and gives some to Toila. In a few moments, Will and the other girls suddenly vanish from the cabin. William then sends Toila out and burns the book himself. We hear voices in the background saying that there's an evil in town, and this book is the main weapon against it. If it's destroyed, the evil will consume the entire town, and its wrath will be unstoppable. But William burned the book for a solid reason, which we'll understand shortly. He then leaves with Toila, and the scene shifts, taking us back 4 nights earlier to see how all this began. We see Will in town, writing a letter to William. Will is also a blacksmith. In this letter, he writes that this is his last message and that he's running out of time, but William isn't. If Will fails, fate will come full circle, and William will have to do everything himself. He goes on to write that this ancient book contains the entire path, meaning those who faced the evil before him have written everything in it. And starting tonight, a chain of events will begin that will change everything. If Toila goes to trial or the sheriff interferes, things will go wrong, implying Will already knew this. Suddenly, we notice a bloody girl walking by, holding the severed heads of her parents. Will is horrified but seems to have anticipated this, as these are the chain of events he mentioned in his letter. The girl abruptly starts screaming, and Will tries to stop her, to stop the evil, but it's no use. He's helpless and flees. Then a lady also screams upon seeing the girl, and Toila wakes up in her home, having been seeing the same girl in her nightmare. The next day, Toila talks to her husband, William, who tells her that a girl in town killed her own parents. Toila says she heard the girl scream, but William says that's impossible because they live on the other side of town. We then see the town judge and sheriff discussing the same girl who killed her parents. Her name is Johanna, and the sheriff has already arrested her. The judge tells him to investigate the matter quickly, and they'll start the trials soon. These are the very trials Will mentioned in his letter. He further states that this town has become a town of sinful, wicked people, and he's determined to cleanse it. He's trying his best to keep evil away and bring God's blessings. Meanwhile, William goes to town for some work, and Toila goes to deliver some goods. The sheriff visits the lady who was the eyewitness the night before, and she agrees to give her statement in court. Suddenly, Will appears and meets Toila. He tells her he's trying to save her and William from grave danger. He urges her not to go to trial today because the girl there will call her a witch. Toila is shocked, as there's no truth to this, and she leaves. However, a local informant overhears this conversation and tells the sheriff that according to Will, Toila is a witch, he completely misunderstood the conversation. Now, the sheriff will investigate Toila, but he also goes to see Johanna, who is sitting in a semi-possessed state. The sheriff asks her what Toila has to do with her, how she knows about Toila, and if she knows that all this happened because of Toila, asking her to clarify everything. But Johanna says nothing, only muttering a name, Annabelle, and then starts humming a lullaby. On the other hand, the judge has come to meet William and tells him that Johanna's trial is about to begin, and William has been appointed to the jury. The jury's job is to prove the accused guilty, convict them, or defend them. After the judge leaves, Toila arrives and tells William about a man, Will, who met her and said they should stay away from the trial and that the girl, Johanna, has a devil inside her. However, William doesn't believe these things right now. Later, we see Will stealing some keys from William's workshop, and one key drops. Since William is a blacksmith, he also made locks and keys in town. That night, Toila has another nightmare where she's in the cell with Johanna, who is making voodoo dolls, and a tall, shadowy figure stands before her. The next day, the trial begins. The judge hears the full story of how Johanna killed her parents in their sleep, and the eyewitness who saw Johanna holding her parents' heads gives her testimony. Meanwhile, the sheriff goes to Toila's house because she didn't show up for the trial, and he questions her about the matter, but she's a bit agitated herself. The sheriff then notices a key in her hand, which Will had dropped there the previous night and she had picked up. The sheriff says that key belongs to one of his prison cells and becomes suspicious, leading to her arrest. The sheriff brings Toila to the trial. Johanna, who was previously scared and begging for mercy, suddenly starts laughing, humming a lullaby, and says that her mother told her they have to play more. The judge states that Johanna killed her own mother, to which Johanna replies that the one who raised her wasn't her real mother, but her real mother is someone else who is present right here, and she points directly at Toila. William is shocked, saying they are both the same age, so how could Toila be her mother? He thinks it's a misunderstanding or something else. When no one listens to him, he starts contempt of court, leading to both him and Toila being thrown in jail. That night, Toila is distressed and is constantly haunted by the shadowy figure, which isn't visible to anyone else. Amidst this, Will arrives and frees both William and Toila from the cell. He leads them into the forest, and the shadowy figure follows Toila the entire way, making her increasingly agitated and fearful. Now, the sheriff informs the judge that the two have escaped, and the judge, enraged, tells the sheriff that evil is spreading rapidly in town, and he must stop it somehow. He vows to find Toila quickly, and she will be executed along with Johanna. In the forest, Will asks William and Toila what they know about witchcraft. They respond that they know about black magic and devil worship. Will then says there's a lot more in the world they don't know, and their world is built on a foundation of lies, that they should fear the devil, or rather, only the devil, when things are much more terrifying. William then asks what fear Will is talking about and what's going to happen. Now, the true nature of the movie unfolds. Will shows them a book, the same one we saw at the beginning of the movie. Will explains that this book talks about the underworld and its threats, where many souls reside, which can be spirits or demons. Inside this book is a key that can take them to that world and bring a soul back. However, there's another key, and without it, going there can be dangerous. The demons there can make us their vessels. And then, he reveals that he himself is William from another timeline. Yes, from a different timeline. This is because he possesses a potion, which we saw him drink at the beginning of the movie. Consuming this potion allows them to create a new life, a new timeline, and enter a new world within a new timeline. For instance, if the current William drinks this now, he'll remain in this world, but a new timeline and a new William will be created there. Basically, you can call it a time potion. He continues his story, explaining that he's always known about this book because it's the fate of the Williams. There are infinite Williams in this world, in other worlds, all trying to save their respective Toilas. And those who fail write their methods in this book. In fact, even those who succeed, meaning those who save their Toila, write their methods in it. This is so that no Toila is ever destroyed and demons can't enter this world. He now explains how all this began. His wife's name was also Toila, after whom he had a daughter named Annabelle. Everything was going well, but Annabelle got hold of that book and learned a lot from it. Over time, Toila grew old and passed away. To bring her mother back, Annabelle performed the ritual from the book, but she didn't have the second key, causing her to fail. And simultaneously, a demon also attached itself to her. However, Annabelle's body was destroyed, and that demon wants Annabelle's body. It wants to make her its vessel again, and for this, it needs Toila's child, who is currently in her womb. This means Toila is pregnant here. And now you understand why the possessed Johanna in court called Toila mother. This is because she is influenced by that shadowy figure, which is actually the demonic Annabelle. This demonic Annabelle, in every timeline, in every world, uses girls like Johanna. And if they want to save Toila now, they have to let Johanna die. And then, with the help of this book, they can banish that demonic Annabelle, that demon, and this is their only way. Hearing all this, William and Toila are both distressed, and suddenly Toila is again haunted by visions of demonic Annabelle. But we are shown that Toila is good in every timeline, in every world. She tells Will that they should find another way, because they can't let an innocent person like Johanna die. Because, when you think about it, Johanna wasn't at fault, she was possessed. Before leaving, Will meets William and says that they need to bring that demon out here, and then they can banish it. He gives him a candle, saying it will keep the demon away. Perhaps he got all this information from the book. For now, the demon wasn't there, but the candle was given for their safety anyway. And amidst this, William asks what would happen if he burned this book. Will then says that this book is their only tool to fight evil, and we heard these same words at the beginning of the movie. Will then goes to free Johanna, but he can't and flees. On the way, he sees dolls made by Annabelle, meaning made by that demon. And these are the same dolls we saw in Toila's visions, which we had mistaken for voodoo dolls. Actually, all these dolls were made by Annabelle, which Will then gives to another girl, and after that, he gets caught. Here, a soldier comes to William and Toila, whom they capture, but in an attempt to escape, William gets separated from Toila and also kills the soldier. He was now going to save Will, who was to be executed along with Johanna, but we notice that Johanna becomes normal and is killed. This means she wasn't possessed at all. After this, William manages to save Will, his alternate self, and escapes. He then asks Will what to do next, and Will explains that they have the other girl, and we understand that the girl to whom he gave the doll has now been possessed by Annabelle's spirit, meaning by that demon, who first goes and kills the judge. This means Will knew that with the help of these dolls, that demon could possess anyone. So, to put it simply, the demon that entered Annabelle wants Toila's child, meaning the Annabelle in her womb, in every timeline, so that it can possess her and live forever. And I think that potion created several timelines here, causing the demon to want Annabelle every time. Then, William leads the possessed girl into a cottage in the forest, and he had already imprisoned the sheriff, but the sheriff has a duplicate key and frees himself. Now, demonic Annabelle traps Toila in her visions, and due to fate, Toila wanders to the cottage, where Will begins his exorcism. In it, he wants to banish the demon from the possessed girl, but we've already seen at the beginning of the movie that they failed. This was the same scene as in the beginning. And Annabelle takes possession of Toila, meaning she reaches her child, because that was her goal. Basically, she wanted to be reborn again in human form. Now William thinks that by burning these pages of the book, he will end everything. But nothing like that happens. He wanted this loop to break, but nothing happened. Because 36 years later, we see an old William in the same scene where we saw Will when Johanna came before him. And now everyone will have understood that fate is completing its full circle here, and this cycle has never been broken. This means all of this will continue like this. This means Will drank that potion at the end, which caused a new timeline to be created again, and this thing continues repeatedly over the period of time. Meaning this cycle had never been broken, it had been going on since then. And how does this book get completed? Because it was burned. So, the answer is clear. These Williams, who keep getting older, keep completing this book. Even if any page gets cut, torn, or burned, this book represents William's fate, and he has to complete that book, and the book's job is to put William in a loop. Anyway, the story then goes to a post-credit scene, where we see a lady and a man in modern times looking for this book for obvious reasons. Perhaps they also need to bring some soul back to life. But we know that a loop was already going on here, or we can say that this is the moment where William's loop will break and go somewhere else. They had held a girl hostage, whom they kill as soon as they get the book, and experience says that these two were not good. After which, terrible things start to happen here. In fact, the girl they killed comes back to life because she had powers, and it's quite possible that this is none other than Toyla and William's daughter, whom Annabelle possessed at the beginning before she was even born, and most probably her name will be the evil Annabelle. And boom! With this, the Witch movie ends here. So friends, this was the story of the Witch film. I hope you liked it and understood it. I know it's quite confusing because there are so many timelines and strange things going on. But you can understand it in a very simple way. William and Toyla are a couple whose child's name is Annabelle. Now, they already had an ancient book. Why they had it is completely unknown. Maybe they were involved in witchcraft or black magic, as both of them already knew about witchcraft and the devil, so maybe they kept it for some knowledge. Now, as she grew up, Annabelle got hold of this book. She learns that by going to the underworld, a soul can be freed with the help of a key. But to do that, a second key is also needed so that no demon comes attached to the user of that ritual. Now, Annabelle grows up, but her mother Toyla dies, obviously due to old age. Annabelle couldn't bear this. She completed this ritual, but she fails, and a demon attaches itself to Annabelle. Now, what probably happened is that William might have created a potion to save his daughter, which allowed him to create a new timeline where he could at least save his child. And you can understand this just like Scarlet Witch did. She wanted her children, so she was looking for them in different timelines. The exact same thing is happening here. The only difference is that here, William, Toyla, Annabelle, and that demon were trapped in a loop. As soon as William drank this time potion, a new timeline would be created. And for example, let's take the initial timeline, where William himself, came to save William and Toyla so that the demon would not possess the child in Toyla's womb. William might have never initially allowed this to happen. Due to the possession, he might have done something that made him search for a hope to save his daughter. But as they say, fate is quite terrible, and evil things are also terrible, and I personally believe that in this timeline. Annabelle was definitely possessed by that demon, because in the end, we can clearly see that the girl had some powers, otherwise, how did she come back to life even after being killed? William just wanted to stop that demon, wanted to save his daughter, but in every timeline, something went wrong, and the Williams from different timelines would write their methods in that book so that the next one could know what to do and what not to do and what methods they had used, which resulted in failure or success. But the thing is that this demon is very cunning, very terrifying, and as a result, it goes to every timeline and does something to keep Annabelle possessed. Now, in the end, no solid conclusion comes out, but you would have understood the concept here. What did this demon, William, Toyla, and Annabelle want? I hope you liked and understood the video.